Hey everybody, it's ModelcarNick here today, and I have a pretty cool car to show you around today. This is the 1/18th Anson Cadillac Escalade EXT. Obviously this is the pickup truck variant, and we're going to be going over some of the details, features, and my overall opinions on this particular model. So first, before I kind of get into it, let me just pull out the box to show you guys real quick, just so you know what it looks like. So here it is. I mean, it's a pretty massive box. This car actually is in 1/18th scale, unlike some of the other SUVs I've seen out lately. But this is the correct scale, and this is a pretty massive box. Nothing really to mention about it. I mean, there's no like really cool features about it, but this is what it looks like. It says Cadillac Escalade EXT in 2002. So I'm actually not too sure when this model was released, but I am pretty sure this is a super old model. And I even got it like with the original kind of wrappings around it, so I still have those in the box. But I'll put that away and we'll get into the model. So first, I kind of just want to show you just the general scale of this thing. I mean, you can't really tell right now, but this thing is freaking massive. I'm gonna pull up here. This is a Aston Martin Valkyrie, and as you can see, this thing just towers over it. I mean, it's huge, and it's really cool. I mean, I didn't think this was going to be correct scale when I first got it, but it actually is, so I'm very impressed with that. And then here's the Auto Art Bugatti Veyron to kind of just compare. As you can see, the Escalade towers over the Bugatti. It's a really big car. So let's kind of get into it, and I'll show you around it. So first, as you can see, it's finished in this really nice kind of a gloss black color. It's got no metallic flake in there. It's just a straight gloss black paint on chrome wheels, and then we have kind of a beige tan interior. So that's kind of the exterior of this model. Over time, the kind of hasn't really held up too great. As you can see, there kind of is some, discoloration in the paint just a little bit, some paint rash coming up. I mean, this thing sat in the box for many years. And as you can see, the top is starting to fade. So, this one looks pretty decent. I'm sure there's some others in a little bit rougher condition. But this was a brand new model. I just pulled it all out of the box with the wrapping. So for it to see that it kind of didn't hold up too great over the years is kind of disappointing. But this is one of the cleanest Escalades probably out in the market right now. It just, isn't perfect. So it's kind of unfortunate. But let's kind of get into some of the details. And starting up front, as you can see, we have the big Escalade grille, which is pretty standard on all the Escalades of this model at the time, and it's finished in chrome. Let the camera focus a little bit, and then as you can see, we have the Escalade badge sitting in the middle of the grille. It doesn't look really good. I mean, I think the chrome is kind of like a little bulky, and you can't really see anything behind there. And the Cadillac kind of crest around the logo itself, it just kind of just baked into the grille. It doesn't look really great, but it's there, and I for what I paid for this, not too bad. The headlight details themselves are pretty good, I would say. As you can see, the kind of the four little individual lights and all the turn signal indicators in there. I mean, it's not great, but it's pretty decent in my opinion. Looking down here at the lower front of the car, we kind of have the fog lights down there, and I think those are tow hooks down there at the front. This car also doesn't have a license plate up there, which I like. So yeah, that's kind of the front of the model. Nothing really too specific on the hood to point out, but as you can see, there kind of is the hood crease right here down the center, and you can see there's kind of some more hood creases down the side. And this is a fully opening model, so we'll go ahead and pop open this hood for you real quick, and let's take a look at the engine bay. So as you can see, this chrome strip kind of comes up with the hood itself, and that's kind of neat. It doesn't really stand up too well, as you can see, so you kind of just have to hold it up or get something to hold it up. So here's the Escalade's V8, and I believe this is I could be totally wrong, but it's probably a 6.2 liter V8. And as you can see, there kind of is some good details down there. As you can see, the battery, some type of reservoirs down there, and just actually, not too bad. And sorry, this is the battery over here on the right. I'm not too sure what that is. It's probably the fuse box or something, or maybe oil filter housing. Not too sure, but you know, actually not horrible levels of detail. And as you can see, they even added stickers on top of the batteries, and it looks pretty clear. I mean, there's stickers up here on the front of the car. So I actually think they did a pretty decent job on this engine bay. It's not like auto art level, but it's definitely a step above what Maisto's doing. So I can't really complain about the engine bay. Moving along, let me just go over how much I spent on this model. So I think I paid $50 shipped for this model to get to me, which is a really excellent price. I think these particular ones, I've seen them sell for around $80 to $120, or that's where they're trying to list them at now. So super rare. I'm not exactly entirely sure on how many of these were made, but this is a super old model. I mean, it probably came out right around 2002 to 2005 when they released this model, and I'm just very happy to have it. I don't think Anson, the manufacturer of this car brand, is around anymore. And if you guys know the history about that, which I don't, please let me know in the comments because I'm interested to find out what happened to them. But yeah, coming down this side, as you can see, they added the kind of the side fender flares, and they look pretty decent. Nothing really to complain about with that. Here we kind of have a 7-spoke wheel with the Cadillac crest in the middle, and there actually is some tire writing on the side of it. I can't really see what it says. Looks like those are Goodyear tires and pretty decent tire tread on there. So pretty impressive wheel work, I would say, with these. I can't really make out any brake rotors or calipers behind there. It actually looks like they didn't even add any in the first place. So that is kind of a letdown, but you know, not a real big deal to me. I just really like this model. This car actually also doesn't have any suspension, so as you can see, you can press down on it, but it's just it just sits in one place, so no suspension work to note. But moving down the side, as you can see, Escalade EXT badging on the side of the car, and it's just a sticker. I think on the real car they use actual badges itself, and I don't think it's placed up here. It could be placed down here on the real car. Not too sure on that. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but that's just a sticker. As you can see too, the car kind of has these interesting body trim pieces right here on the side, followed by kind of a side step right here that's surrounded in chrome, and it's kind of just a flat silver on the top or gray plastic. It doesn't look too great, but I think it gets the job done. Door handles are finished in chrome, as you can see, and besides the door handles, there's also a little kind of a notch right here. I'm not too sure if that is also on the real car or not, but there is a little crease right here, and I'm not too familiar with that, so it is there. Let me know if that's there on the real cars or not. But looking at the rear of the car, this rear door unfortunately does not open, and if you're looking at the rest of the car, there is kind of a little panel gap from the front door to the rear, so that is a little bit unfortunate, but it's there nonetheless. Around the windows, there's no like chrome trim or anything to mention. It's just kind of gloss black around everything. But if we take a look at the roof, as you can see, there's a little antenna, and we have some chrome kind of roof rails right here, and like these little two plastic bits that go over it. Not too sure what that's for, but it is there. Sunroof on the top, and there kind of is these like body lines that kind of rake across the top of the car. But looking at the rear, as you can see, kind of a third brake light up at the top where this kind of rear triangle section comes down, which in my opinion, was my favorite part about the Escalade, is that they have this little like kind of side thing. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a little triangle, and I really like that feature. But moving towards the rear, these body lines kind of follow through and flow out for these side skirts, so it looks pretty good. Little gas cap right there that doesn't open. But yeah, these little compartments right here do, which is pretty neat. As you can see, they both open up on each side, and they close back down. The rear tailgate also does open. You just have to pull it up, and it comes out. So that's what it looks like with it open. As you can see, there's nice like kind of truck bed lining in the back of there with some imprints, and it looks pretty cool. This does have kind of a cover that goes over the top of this. I think it looks really bad with it on because they're kind of like a really light gray plastic cover, and they come in sections, so you just pop them up over the top. But in my opinion, they don't look very good, so I recommend displaying it with those off. But looking at the rear of the car, as you can see, the taillights, not too much detail to mention with that. There is the nice little Cadillac badge right there on the rear, and the Escalade EXT badging right there in chrome, which is also just a sticker kind of on the paint. Nothing really too crazy else going on back here. I don't really even see the tailpipes. Looks like there's one on this side, which is kind of neat. It's finished in chrome, as you can see. But that's the only one. There is a little tow hook. There's a little tow hook right there on the rear. But as you can see, it's kind of just filled in with black plastic. Looks like a little license plate, and nothing really too crazy going on, but a pretty good looking rear end in my personal opinion. I absolutely love how these look, and a lot of people sleep on them, but I think this is excellent. Looking at the rear windows though, they are a little bit tinted, as you can see, just a nice light tint, not too dark, but it does let some light into the cabin. So now we can finally take a look at the interior of this model. I did have one issue with it. As you can see, there's kind of a sticker that's sitting right on top of the gauge cluster that fell off. I still have it, but just be careful when you're buying one of these because it might be missing. It looks like they're easy to fall off. So it is there, it's just not on correctly. But the steering wheel, it looks like just pretty squared off basic steering wheel, no Cadillac logo in the middle, unfortunately, but they did do a pretty good job with all the buttons, as you can see. Just everything around the vents and stuff, it looks pretty decent. This car also has like the wood trim around everything, and it's kind of just like a gloss brown. There's no like really wood features to see, but I think it looks pretty decent. It follows through on the doors as well, but here's kind of another peek at the door. Nothing really too crazy going on. They have some speakers and I guess this little reflector right here when the doors open. But actually I think it looks pretty decent. As you can see, kind of the three pedals. The one on the far left is the emergency brake, but nothing really too crazy going on with that side. I think this car does have an armrest maybe right here. I could be totally wrong, but that looks like what they were trying to implement. The seats do have an interesting feel to them. They kind of are like a rubber material, which is kind of nice. I've never seen that in a model, but yeah, all this is like rubber, which is really interesting. But yeah, that's kind of a peek at the interior. The back, we could try to take a little view at it. Nothing really too much to see going on back there. There's no carpet on the floor or anything like that. Just a pretty interesting looking interior. They didn't really do a great job here up at the top, as you can see. I don't really know what's going on up there, but it looks really weird. And the rear view mirror comes down a pretty good amount, so really interesting to see. But pretty basic interior. Nothing really too crazy going on with that. But that's kind of this model as a whole. I really like this car. Like I said earlier, a lot of people do not like this pickup truck version of the Escalade, but to me, this is one of my favorite cars of all time, especially the third generation Escalade EXT, which was the final year they produced the pickup truck. But that particular car is my favorite Escalade of all time. But they never made a 1/18 scale version of it, unfortunately. So this is about as much of an Escalade pickup truck you'll be able to get that's in the correct scale. So I do highly recommend you pick up one of these if you like this car. I mean, there is a few other variants of it. I know they sell this car in a bunch of different colors, but you can get the regular Escalade, just the regular SUV, and then they also have the EXV version, which is the long kind of SUV, like kind of the XL version. So there's a bunch of different variants to pick from. I'm sure they're all in the correct scale, but this one for me was the one to have. But that being said, at what the rate these are going for, I do not think this is like $100 model. I wouldn't spend more than $50 on one of these, to be perfectly honest. I mean, maybe I would have paid $60 for it just because I like this truck so much, but they're super rare, and I guess I can justify why they're going for the crazy amounts that they do. I just wouldn't really recommend picking one up, because why would you spend $120 on an Anson model when you could, you know, get a GT Spirit Bentley or something like that. I just don't recommend paying more than like $50 for one of these, even though they are very expensive to try to find one that's not in an auction. I think out of a rating out of 10, I'd probably give this like a solid 6. Just because, you know, the discoloration that this model has experienced over time, as you can see a little bit better, maybe that there's a bit of cloudiness, and I'm sure you could rub that out with some kind of clear coat protection. I haven't used this yet, but I'm planning on putting this ceramic spray coating on this model, and maybe that'll kind of buff out some of the imperfections. But we'll see. If you want to check it out on Instagram, I will post some pictures before and after when I eventually end up fixing up this model. But yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate your support. We're almost at 300 subscribers. I cannot believe it. That's a lot of people. I don't, you know, even think these videos are that good, but I appreciate that you guys always tune in, and especially for this one, a car that, you know, many people would just look over, but for me, this is one of my favorite cars of all time. So glad to show it to you, glad to have it in the collection. And yeah, but thank you guys for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. See you guys. Bye.